I went into the doctor's office with my parents. We were waiting for a diagnosis based on the biopsy. And yes, we heard the dreaded C word, cancer. I nearly fainted. My mother had cancer at 84, and I just didn't know what to do. I started researching on the internet when I got home, and I was so crazy about doing that research that my friends would often say, "Hey, Isme, you don't have cancer. Your mother does." But that's the whole thing. Once one family member has cancer, they say everyone has cancer. And that's exactly how I felt. And so that's why I invited Dr. Joelle, a naturopathic doctor. She runs the Revive Life Clinic. And at 60, she's the picture of health and beauty. So let's get some practical tips from her. Hi, Dr. Joelle.
Hi, nice to see you again.
Nice to see you too. Dr. Joelle, one of the reasons I asked you to be here is because I wanted to talk about what is a scary topic,
Mm,
something nobody wants to talk about, but the rate of cancer is skyrocketing. And I've had friends, family members, all come down with cancer. And
mhm.
the thing is, when I go to, say, my GP, he'll say, get screened,
Yeah,
which is great. I think it's very important to be screened. You know, they'll say, oh, get a mammogram, get a colonoscopy. Um, but often they're not talking about root causes, what I'm doing, my
mhm.
lifestyle, nothing. So I wanted to talk to you because I've gone to you before, and I know you have some services that you offer which can help us.
Mhm. Yeah, I think this is a very relevant topic. So thank you for having me here today. With the statistics rising, either you and I and all the people who are listeners can be in a room, and eventually, when you actually look at the statistics, at least one person in that room has had cancer or will contract cancer. And so I think it's important that we talk about it. Just being silent about it doesn't bring prevention to mind. And that's what we ultimately want to do, because the earlier we can understand the root causes and look at detection, the more effective we are going to be at helping an individual return to health again.
That's interesting that you mentioned the statistics. So I looked on ChatGPT just to see what they've got to say. Interestingly, um, 4 out of 10 people.
Yes.
And then I argued with ChatGPT because I thought it might be higher than that. And I said, I don't know if you're right because I think it's 1 out of 2.
Right.
And then ChatGPT said, yes, you might have a point. It could be higher because sometimes the stats don't give you all the answers. It's,
Sure.
how it's collected. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
so if it's getting to be that high, and I know it's getting um, to be diagnosed in younger and younger people as well.
Mhm.
Oh, you're right. We need to talk about it.
I think, perhaps if we would think about our generation and we think about growing up, it wasn't common that a woman in her 30s might have breast cancer. But, in when I was 30, it was actually starting to become more common. So I think, again, there's real importance for us to think, what can our strategy be? We don't want to worry because worry is a form of stress, but we want to just put strategies in place that make sense, that are just a part of our health checklist, that we're saying, okay, yeah, I want to be empowered. I want to know if I'm at risk, and if so, what can I do early?
Yes. And exactly after this conversation, I hope there will be that takeaway for
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
Let me just ask you before we get into all of that, what is a naturopath? Because you are a naturopathic doctor.
Yes. Thank you for asking. When I first started practicing in 1991, I used to actually have to take time to explain what a naturopath was. But now people are coming in and they're quite knowledgeable. And so, just to, revisit that, a naturopath is an integrative practitioner where we are taking into consideration the macroscopic picture of health and then the microscopic picture. And we're looking for pieces of the puzzle to understand the root cause. We have various modalities of therapies that we can integrate in our suitcase, and one of them is lifestyle. Number two, nutraceuticals, which is vitamins, minerals, and herbs. Number three, various physical type therapies like acupuncture, Bowen therapy, cranial sacral therapy. We also do other more progressive types of interventions like IV therapy. We also do a lot of laboratory testing to understand the root cause. And our view on laboratory testing is different in that we are looking for optimal, not just normal. So we are reading the results differently. And so, again, a naturopath is an integrative practitioner that looks at your whole health, focusing on understanding the root cause.
Hmm. Maybe I could ask you a personal question. What inspired you to become a naturopath? Because
Yeah.
you have to do many, many years of schooling. Um,
Sure. Well, originally, when I was growing up, I knew I wanted to be in the healthcare field. We had come from a family of many healthcare practitioners, and health was always exciting to me. But I was an athlete growing up. I was a gymnast, but I also was sick. I had bronchitis, strep throat, and my parents really couldn't figure that out. So my parents brought me to a naturopath in the small town that I grew up in, Brandon, Manitoba. He did some food intolerance testing and found that I had an intolerance to pork and dairy and sugar.
hmm,
So as soon as I removed those from my diet, all of a sudden, no more bronchitis, no more strep throat. I was feeling good, healthy, etc.
right.
So I just kept that in the back of my mind. I pursued school. I came from the small town. I came out to Waterloo and I did a degree in science. And then one of the professors came to me and said, as I was a TA, said, "Oh, you might be interested in this type of medicine. It's called naturopathic. You seem to really be interested in nutrition and sports medicine and how the body works and science." And then I remembered my visit to this naturopath, and that's how the journey began. And ever since then, it's just like I knew this is what I was supposed to do.
Sure. If something works, you got to follow that path,
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
So maybe for people who don't really know what cancer is, you could
Mhm.
maybe explain what is cancer.
Sure. I mean, cancer is complicated, but it's also simple. It's an overgrowth of cells. And what happens is the overgrowth tends to metastasize or move into other cells. So healthy tissue becomes unhealthy, and this is the process of cancer.
Hmm. It's like a lot of cell division
Yes,
in kind of an aberrant way. Is that
yes.
correct? Okay.
Correct. And they believe that it takes anywhere from 6 to 7 years for a tumor cell to actually become detectable, from the first point of multiplication to the point of where it actually becomes detectable with the methodology that we presently have.
hmm And so every one of us apparently has cancer cells
Mhm.
within our body, right?
Mm.
As we speak.
Sure, yes. Our cells have the potential to remain in a healthy state and or with epigenetics be turned on and then over multiply.
hmm And it's that over multiplication that is the problem, right?
Yes.
So that your body, your immune system is not just taking care of it as per usual. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So, what are the root causes, if you could tell us?
Mm. Well, there are many root causes of cancer. And we are understanding that depending on what type of cancer. So, for example, if we speak about breast cancer, we know that there is the possibility of having a hormone relationship, so estrogen positive or progesterone positive. And that's why certain medications like tamoxifen are often used because it suppresses estrogen. There is also the environment. We have many, many chemicals. If we think about our food supply, we have gone from being foundational in growing our own foods to moving to this fast forward movement where then it became prepared foods. Then we realized that's not a good thing. And we
Right.
reverted back to growing our own foods and things like that. So there's the chemical aspect of things. We can think about also the chemicals in our environment. So plastics and exposure to estrogen like chemicals. And then
Yeah,
there's a
like they're called the xenoestrogens, right?
exactly,
Which is
yes,
like
exactly,
a toxic version of estrogen.
exactly.
Okay.
And then we've got infections. So we believe that potentially microbes could be related. There's age, there's obesity. Really, ultimately, what's happening is that whatever the root cause or instigator, it leads to chronic inflammation, and then the body gets confused, and then we end up with tumor cells.
hmm And you mentioned age. Uh,
Mhm.
I just turned 70, and I'm a little concerned, that, my mother at 84 had
Mhm.
cancer.
Yes.
And she ate impeccably and she exercised every day, had a great lifestyle. And I was thinking, well, why did my mother get it? And having done the research,
Mm.
age is one of those top reasons.
It is. And would it be okay if I asked what type of cancer she developed?
She had breast cancer.
Okay,
And by the way, everything worked out really well. So, and that's because her baseline health was really good.
excellent.
So she didn't have to get all this major surgery or chemo or radiation. Yeah.
That's really great to hear. And again, there's an example of somebody who generally is very healthy throughout their lifetime. And then we wonder, where did this come from?
hmm
For women, it's important to mention that during perimenopause, estrogen drops 25% and progesterone drops 75%. So
hmm
there's a window where a woman can become estrogen dominant in that time where your hormones are fluctuating, and this can increase the risk of estrogen related breast cancer.
hmm
Or uterine or cervical. So that's something to be really, really mindful of. And for men, we have the prostate and we have the fact that testosterone can convert to DHT, which can be more problematic. And so that pathway is known as the aromatase pathway. And that can be influenced from age and so forth. So, um, there are certain factors that we are knowledgeable about, but we can work preventatively for because we can test women for their hormones, we can test men for their hormones, and we can see relative risks there.
Hmm. Hmm. And so you did mention some of the risk factors that would be age.
Mhm.
Um, what else you mentioned?
Weight,
Okay.
weight.
Hmm.
We have inflammation. So if you have unstable blood sugar chronically throughout your lifetime, that will increase your risk. There's the hormone link. Something that I didn't mention, but I think is very important to mention, is the stress and the mental emotional component.
Right. Right.
So, we can't separate mind, body, and spirit. And if there are things that are happening in your life, unresolved emotions, etc., there's another philosophy of medicine which brings in the psychological aspect. There's a really nice author. Her name is Louise Hay, and she wrote the
Oh,
book You
I
Can Heal Your
love
Life, right?
that book changed my life, by the way,
Hmm.
30 years ago, 30 some years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, that speaks to how old the book is, but it's really relevant because she talks about the fact that the body's very smart and it will create symptoms in an area that represents us emotionally.
Hmm.
So, for example, if somebody has colon or gut health issues, perhaps there's a link to from an emotional perspective of difficulties clearing things,
Hmm.
clearing stuff, emotions. So we have to look at relationships, we have to look at our work, we have to look at where do we carry stress and do we have any unresolved feelings. Anger is a very important emotion, but if it stays with us, then potentially where does it go in our overall health?
Hmm.
Now, again, it's not just emotions. There are physiological changes that are happening, but this is naturopathic medicine that we take in the totality of everything, and we really look at for that unique individual, how can we help them improve their health?
So nowadays, people are talking not about prevention as
Mm.
such, but risk reduction. So they're
Mm,
saying,
yes.
oh, we maybe not can't prevent getting cancer, but we can reduce the risk by doing, having a certain lifestyle.
Yes.
What is your take on that?
Well, I think both are possible. We still don't have a cure for cancer per se.
Mhm.
And I think one of the reasons is because it is very multifactorial, just like Alzheimer's, et cetera.
Right.
But my take on it is that it really depends on how soon we're starting. So prevention is possible, reducing our risk is also possible. You
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
Recently, the statistics on alcohol and our recommended limits has also changed.
Right.
So alcohol can also be one of the risk factors.
Mhm. Mhm. And what are the main things
Hmm.
that would help to reduce the risk for people?
Okay. Well, I mean, I love men and women, but my practice is a little bit more directed to women's health. So I'll just say one thing is that women could include more cruciferous vegetables. So broccoli, kale, bok choy, etc. These cruciferous vegetables, when lightly steamed to help reduce risk factor for thyroid, they have biochemicals that can help us convert estrogen in an improved way. Estrogen can break down into 2-OH, 4-OH, and 16-OH. 2 is friendly, 4 can go either way, and 16 is unfriendly. Cruciferous vegetables can help the conversion so that we are creating more friendly breakdown of estrogens. So that's one.
Hmm.
And then number 2, anti-inflammatory foods like turmeric, ginger are wonderful.
Yeah.
And then number three, to promote digestive enzymes. So the use of papaya, kiwi. I know growing up, my father was very economical and he might bring home meat that wasn't necessarily the best quality. And so my mom would use kiwi to break it down and make it really tender. So kiwi can be very good. And again, the reason why is that digestive enzymes, if we're not breaking down our food properly, the body recognizes it as foreign and either has an allergic reaction or it irritates the digestive lining, which contributes to inflammation.
Mhm. So there's also pineapples, which have
Yes.
maline, and there are a few
Yes.
others, like even
Yes.
mangoes, I heard have some enzymes.
Yes, yes, papaya, etc. So, you know, your refrigerator and your garden has a plethora of nutraceuticals that are amazing. You know, Mother Nature tries to take care of us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If we're looking for another one, then I would say self-care. You know, we live in a world where a lot is expected of us. We lead very busy lives and we forget to just get bored because boredom is the boundary of creativity. And so when we're bored, we start to create games and, and start to really tap into being creative, which is really important too.
I like that because when my mother says she's bored, she's 91 now. When she says she's bored, I say that is a great place to be.
It is.
You
It
know, I
really
wish I
is.
had a little more boredom in my life.
Yeah. 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 Exactly.
That's
Yes.
funny. And so what kind of people show up to your practice,
Mm,
having cancer or just
yeah.
even wanting to figure out whether they need to do more?
Sure. Well, I think that there's multiple types of people. Number one, as you mentioned, people will come because they're afraid. Their
Mm,
best friend or their close family member has had cancer and maybe unfortunately passed away or
mm,
had a difficult time, which has really left an impression on that individual.
mhm,
So they want to do everything they can. So that's one type. And then the second type is somebody with cancer. You know, it could be all walks of life. It could be somebody who's lived a very healthy lifestyle, and so it's confusing to understand how and why they have cancer. Or it could be somebody who's really had perhaps not a healthy lifestyle
mhm,
and really wants to change things around. Yeah.
mhm, mhm. And so when these two types of people come in, one without but looking for, help, because
Mhm.
they're scared, what would you offer them?
Yeah, so everything is individual to that person. So we would just, in the naturopathic initial part one, we just listen. We try and understand and put the picture together. And sometimes people will say, well, just this area hurts, and
Mm,
they want you to focus on this area. But we will do that, but we're also going to look at the whole body. Why does that area hurt?
mm,
So the same thing would apply with an individual either who has cancer or who wants to work preventatively. We just want to really listen
yes.
because that's when the creativity comes in. Then we will be looking for the root cause, putting together the pieces of the puzzle, and then potentially either get started on a care plan or make recommendations for additional laboratory testing.
Okay. And you mentioned the word integrative. So
Mhm.
if they're doing, say, chemo
Mhm.
as well, are you equipped to handle people who are going through chemo as well?
Yes. So our role is to support people wherever their journey is.
Mm,
So if they are doing chemotherapy, we're going to be mindful of any kind of drug interactions and just make sure that we're doing things that are supportive.
mhm,
And we're happy to collaborate with any other healthcare professionals. And so we are going to be working on quality of care and supporting immunity, et cetera. and just helping recovery. It's an emotional time, it's a physically stressful time. Individuals may have side effects from the therapy, so we're helping them with that. Yeah, so it's really individual for each person.
You mentioned that you have some cancer testing services that you offer. What does that involve?
Mhm. Well, traditional medicine offers gold standard. So, if we are thinking about breast health, we're thinking about a mammogram, we're thinking about a CT, ultrasound, etc. Integrative therapy takes one step back and we say, okay, what are the root causes of potentially breast cancer? So we are looking at hormone testing. We are looking at what is your cortisol level at? What is your thyroid at? Because that influences all the other hormones. What about your estrogen progesterone ratio? So we're going to be looking at all of that. And we can actually even test in the Dutch test, which is a dried urine test, the metabolites, your ratio of 2OH versus 16OH estrogen.
Mhm.
So that could be one form of testing. We also have something called medical thermography. It is not diagnostic of cancer, but it's like taking a snapshot of the body. And it's really good for picking up three main things. Number one, patterns of inflammation. Number two, areas where there's increased blood supply, because tumor cells need increased blood supply. Angiogenesis. So if we see something that shows increased blood supply, we know we have to look further and refer for gold standard testing. And then cardiovascular health, it's been good for that as well. So that's another option. When it comes to gut health and potentially colon cancer, et cetera, we're looking at the microbiome and things that are changing before a tumor cell actually starts developing.
Mhm.
So we can do stool testing for that. Just again, depending on what kind of cancer, there's various testing.
Well, that's great to know. I'm really happy that there are all these things available because, I eat well and I exercise and all of that. Still, I want to know where am I going? And so, some of the additional testing that I haven't done with you, I want to take up. And
Yeah.
I think I will put your bio and Revive Life Clinic in the show notes so that people can get in touch.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Do you have any final words for anybody who's thinking about this and worrying?
Yeah, well, what I would say is that people forget to do what makes them happy. When you do things that make you happy, you have a cascade of really positive hormones of oxytocin, serotonin, etc. And these are very healing. So that's one thing. And then number two, I would say do be open to integrative testing because OHIP only covers what OHIP covers, let's say under an Ontario provincial plan.
Yeah.
And there are many other tests that are available that are under private health care, but can tell us more. And we can read them in different ways. So that would be the second thing that I would encourage people to think about.
I love that. That's great. Great advice. So, if you have friends, family, loved ones that you'd want to share this with, please feel free and subscribe to my channel where we talk about health, wealth, and other inspirational stories. And by the way, it's free to subscribe. So, and it'll help the channel, it'll get this information out to more people, which is the aim, is to help as many people as we can. So I just want to thank you once again. Really happy to see you. Hopefully I'll see you soon
That
to
sounds
talk
wonderful.
about this some more.
Thank you so much for having me as a guest. And I really appreciate your work and the importance of just talking, really.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye now.
Bye.
Thanks everyone for watching. And don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe.